Hi everyone, I'm Chris Seeley with the DFP API Developer Relations team, and today I'm going to be talking to you about creating and serving video ads with the DFP API. We'll be going from pretty much nothing to having a working serving video ad targeted to specific content on your website. So let's get started. So you've got your creative file, your advertiser sent it over, it's sitting as an MP4 on your desktop. And now you're wondering, where do I go from here? So in this example, they sent us over a Chromebook ad, and they want to target it towards students, and specifically the NCAA tournament's going on right now, March Madness, so they want to target it towards March Madness and everyone watching that, because they know we have a basketball blog. So that's the example we're going to be working with today, and where do we go from here? First, we have to serve our ad, which means we need to host that creative externally. It's not going to do us any good sitting as that MP4 on our desktop. And then we're going to create a video redirect creative in the DFP API. Then we're going to target it toward a specific video ad unit. And then we're going to use content metadata key hierarchy targeting to target specifically the NCAA videos that our advertiser wants. And we're going to do that on our video line item that we're going to create with the API. Then we're going to associate our line item and creative that we made. Finally, we're going to use the IMA SDK on our website. We're going to integrate with our video player and serve the creative ad as a pre-roll and get told how awesome Chromebooks are. So just to see the final example running in action, let's go over to my sports blog. This is my little basketball blog, and here's a video of what's in store for the Final Four. And this is going to be a video targeting the NCAA March Madness tournament. So when we hit play, we're going to get our advertisement for the Chromebook. And you can see we have another category over here for NBA. So if we go over to NBA, we are expecting a video not to serve, an advertisement not to serve here because we are specifically targeting the NCAA. So when we hit play here, there's no advertisement, so it goes directly to our content video. So that's our end goal, and we're going to make that happen using a couple of cool new features in DFP and show you where the future of video advertising is going in DFP. So step one, hosting the creative externally. As of version 2014-11, you can create third-party hosted video creatives using the API, and that's what we're going to be doing today. If you already have a hosting solution for these videos, you can go ahead and use that. You'll just need the URL and some other metadata about the video, for example, the bitrate and the MIME type. But you can also use YouTube to host your assets, and that's what we're going to be doing today. And with this, you pretty much just need the URL. So to get started, we're going to throw the video onto YouTube so we have it up there. And you can do this through the YouTube UI. You can see I already actually uploaded it, but to do it, you would just hit upload. I'm not going to do it again because I would just get an error since it already exists. It'll have a duplicate detection. So now that it's in YouTube, it's hosted here, and we have our actual YouTube URL here, and that's what we're going to use in our example. So we're going to create a video redirect creative with the API. And we're going to need to set our standard fields like creative size and name, and we're going to give it a video size of, that's a 720p video that we got, so we'll give it a 720 by 1280 dimensions. Then we'll set the duration in milliseconds. And we need to add our video redirect asset, which is the combination of the URL and the metadata on the video. And that's the video metadata that we'll need to be adding. And that's just about it. It's pretty straightforward to create a video redirect creative. So I'll show you this in Java using our DFP client library. So we go over into Eclipse, and we'll open up our Create Video Redirect Creatives file. If you've used our Java library before, you're probably familiar with the example format we have. And this is going to follow the same way where we have this run example function, and we're just going to set some static parameters here to pass into that, including our YouTube ID, which is just extracted right from the URL up here. So we'll grab our YouTube ID and stick it in, and our advertiser ID. This is an advertiser in DFP in the network that we're working with today. It's just the ID from the URL. And let's walk through this real fast. We'll be using the creative service, so this little boilerplate here to get that. And we're going to be creating our size. As I said, we'll be doing 720p, so 720 by 1280. It's not an aspect ratio, it's the full size. And then we create our video redirect creative. We got to set our standard fields for any creative, like an advertiser ID and our name. And to show you in the UI, we'll just call it the YouTube hosted creative and a random ID so that we don't run into conflicting name errors when we try and run this example more than once. And our destination URL is going to be google.com/Chromebook because this is a Chromebook ad. So we'll set our size and we'll set our duration. Our duration is in millis. This is a 15-second spot, so we'll multiply that by 1,000 to get 15,000 milliseconds. And the last is adding our video redirect asset. So we create our asset, and then we set our redirect URL. And this is just the straight YouTube URL that you would visit in your browser to watch the video. And we're adding on our YouTube ID as the V parameter. Now, this next stuff is actually, because we're using YouTube, the metadata, DFP is smart enough to pull that off of the YouTube video, and it's going to completely ignore whatever we pass in here. I just wanted to include it in case you're using a third-party solution. This is the type of stuff that you would need to set. You would need to set the bitrate and the MIME type, as well as the duration again, and the video delivery type, whether that's progressive or streaming, and the scalable type. And set the size again. And the last step is to, and that metadata is stored on the asset object, the video redirect asset. The last step is to set those assets. You can have more than one asset. We're only doing one here today. Video redirect creative.set video assets. I'm going to pass that in. And then we use the creative service calling create creatives. It's a pretty straightforward example, not much code needed. Some warnings for my logger classes, and a creative with this ID. So I'll grab that and name YouTube hosted creative 644-617-297 was created. So let's jump over to our advertiser in DFP and see where that is. 644-617-297, our YouTube hosted creative from the API. And we pop in here, and we see it pulled in our ad from YouTube, and it's got our duration, and our file name is just the YouTube URL, and it's going to google.com/Chromebook as we said in our code. Great. So step one, it's in DFP. That's great, but I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yeah, that's fine that you uploaded it through the UI, but I want something more automated. I don't have to worry about going in and doing that every time I get a new ad. Let's make this a little more automated. And the nice thing is, since you're already using one of the Google APIs and you're authenticating with OAuth, it's really easy to start to integrate with other Google APIs. And you can integrate with the YouTube eye with just a couple of quick steps. All you need to do is add the YouTube scopes to your existing refresh token in OAuth. And then your application can reuse the same access tokens that it generates for both the DFP API and the YouTube API. And I've linked to the scopes here so you can take a look at what I'm talking about, but I'll also show you how I modified the example that comes with the Java client library. So the Java client library comes with a getRefresh token example to generate your refresh token. This is a one-time step, as you remember from getting your authentication set up, but you can add in a YouTube scope in addition to the DFP scope, and it looks the same. It's googleapis.com/auth/YouTube upload. And We'll just pass in an array list of these scopes when we do the authorization flow, so that when you run it and it gives you that URL, it'll actually ask you for multiple permissions. It'll ask to manage your DoubleClick campaigns and your YouTube videos. So the same token can be utilized for multiple Google APIs. And the same is true if you wanted to add in like Google Drive support or something like that. If you wanted to have a huge flow through all the different Google APIs, you can do that just by adding additional scopes. The one last gotcha is to enable YouTube API access in the developer console. So if you go to the developer console, you'll need to, under your APIs and auth, your credentials, your APIs tab, you need to browse the APIs down here, and you can see I've enabled the YouTube Data API for v3, and you can turn these on and off. So once you have that flow enabled, it's really easy to then include the YouTube API in your project and start uploading videos, or just digesting your YouTube stream. So anytime a video is uploaded, it automatically will then create a video redirect creative in DFP. And the example code that you found on the same site as this screencast has a couple of examples that do that for you. We have the upload YouTube example and an app that you can give it a file and it'll upload to YouTube and then create a video redirect creative right in your network in one nice flow. And to utilize the YouTube API, if you're using Maven, it's the same as a DFP API. You just add in another dependency. So YouTube data v3 support. It's com.google.apis, and the artifact is API services YouTube. So really, this is just the tip of the iceberg, and you can have a whole flow however you want it. And it's really easy since you're already using OAuth to add in extra APIs. The next thing you need to do is decide on your video ad unit. If you don't already have a video ad unit, there's the create ad units example on GitHub that you can follow. And the only really gotcha that you would have to look out for video is setting the environment type to a video player. Other than that, if you have an existing ad unit, you can use that, and that's what we'll be doing here today in these examples. So let's just move straight into the mouthful that is content metadata key hierarchy. So let's just focus on the first part, the content metadata, and what that means. If you're using DFP for video, you can hook it up to content management systems, and then it will automatically ingest videos from those content management systems, whether you're hooked up to like Brightcove, or if you have your own CMS and you have a media RSS feed, you can use that to get those videos into DFP as well. And as DFP ingests these, it'll parse out metadata from the content videos from that MRSS feed or from Brightcove or whatever other source you're using. So we'll take a look at what that means for the UI and what this MRSS feed is with an example one. Normally you would build these programmatically, but for the example here today, I've just sort of put this together. And it looks like a wall of XML, but it's straightforward, and we'll see what it ends up being parsed as in DFP. If you take a quick look, we see our channel is just our sports blog. And the last build date, as I mentioned, this should be programmatically built. You shouldn't be handwriting this like I did for the example. This should be as part of when you add new content, you should update your RSS feed automatically, programmatically. And what the RSS feed includes are just items that are your videos. And it will have links to those items and a description, your title, and the publish date, so DFP knows when it was published and what it has to update. But the real meat of it that I want to point out here, and what we're going to be focusing on, is this extension to MRSS for DFP, where you set a content ID and key value pairs. It's straightforward. It's just this key values, and you set a key and a value. And the ones we're using in our demo are sports basketball, league is NCAA, and then for this video, which is the example video I showed earlier, what's in store for the Final Four, we have 4 different teams. Not that I'm making any predictions, but just as an example. It may be easier just to see what this looks like in DFP. So if I grab the right tab here, this is our source, our ads on display demo, and this is the URL here. I've just hosted the video files themselves and this RSS feed on Google Drive. It's actually a nifty feature. You can enable files to be visible publicly on the web. So that's what I've done here, is just why it says googledrive.com/host. But you see that it has 5 videos and it's manually synced, and it gives you the last sync date, things like that. And if we go into what the content that it actually parsed, you'll see our videos from our basketball blog. It has the title and the duration, but it also has this targetable metadata that it ingested from that from the metadata on the RSS feed. And you'll see the preview of Duke's offense has NCAA, basketball, and the team Duke. Whereas Countdown to the NBA Draft just has League, NBA, and basketball. It doesn't have any particular teams involved. So this is the metadata that it pulled out of that RSS feed. The next question is, where does this metadata go from here? How do we utilize this? And for that, you can jump into the metadata tab and see that this is all of the metadata that was pulled out of content. And this orange not mapped, this means that it's not mapped to anything in DFP yet. What I mean is you're going to map the ingested metadata back to your existing custom keys and values in DFP, your custom targeting keys and values. So for sports, you can see we've mapped this to our custom targeting key, sports. And if we dig into it, on the left-hand side is all of the key values we've ingested from our content sources, and on the right side is the matching key value pairs that were in your custom targeting keys and values in DFP. So you see that there's an Olympics one, and we actually don't have a value for it. So our key in DFP is, it only has bowling and basketball and baseball. It doesn't have the Olympics. So this isn't mapped. But we do have a basketball here, so this is mapped appropriately to the basketball sport. So you ingest the metadata through your content streams, and then you tie that metadata back to custom targeting keys and values in DFP. So that DFP knows, okay, this video is about sports, it's about basketball, it's about these particular teams, and all of that will map to custom targeting keys and values for your line items to use. Now we'll move on to the key hierarchy portion. So you can configure a hierarchy of these keys, and it's probably just easiest to show you an example. The one we're using here today is the sports, the league, and the team. And in addition to just being individual metadata here, you can set a hierarchy in DFP. That way you can utilize it to target all sports or a subset of sports, or you can target a particular league but exclude certain teams. And this just adds an extra level of flexibility. And that's under the Content Hierarchies tab. My colleague Nick has built this is March Madness hierarchy for the demo here today. And you see it's the same hierarchy that we had in the slide, where he's using these custom targeting keys in DFP for sports, league, and sports team. So that's great, but it's a lot of work. Why would you want to do this? The answer is, it's really all about automation and making our lives easier. It's investing a little time up front to get some value on the back end. And what I mean is you don't have to create the content bundles anymore when you get the new videos in. You don't have to manually push this over here and that over there. And you can target just based on what the video is actually about. You can tag your video in your CMS and DFP will understand that and ingest that. And the best value, in my opinion, is if you add new content, it automatically gets included in your targeting. So if you add a new video about Duke or about Kentucky and the NCAA tournament, ads will start serving to that if you have line items that are targeted to those. You don't have to worry about updating any targeting when you add new videos because you're targeting on IDs or anything like that. The next step is to create our video line item. And we're going to be following the create video line items example on GitHub. And we're going to do it using content metadata key hierarchies. And specifically, we're going to be targeting all the NCAA teams like you saw in our example. So let's swing back over to our example in Java. Open our create video line item example. Again, we're following the same format as our Java libraries examples, where we set specific values up front. And in this case, we're setting our order ID and our targeted video ad unit ID, which is ones that we've created in Advanced Developer Day, March 2015. And the meat of it is here, this content metadata key hierarchy targeting. So this is our content custom targeting value ID. We really only need the value IDs because the values are only going to be for a single key. You don't need to specify the key IDs, you just need the values. DFP will be able to figure out where they map from there. So this is the value ID for our custom targeting key for basketball, the sport basketball rather. And this is our targeting value ID for the league NCAA. In our run example, we're going to be using the line item service and creating our content metadata key hierarchy targeting object. On this content metadata targeting, we're going to set the targeted value IDs. We're going to set the custom targeting value IDs. And these are custom targeting values in DFP for sport is basketball and league is NCAA. Then we're going to set these on our content targeting object, so it rolls up into this content targeting, and we set the targeted content metadata. You could also set excluded content metadata, so if you wanted to, for example, a few teams lost in the next round, so you don't want to serve your ad to them anymore. You can actually do excluded content metadata as well. So if you wanted to do a deeper hierarchy and exclude certain teams, you could do that. But for our example, we want to keep it as targeted. Then inventory targeting required for all line items. So we're just going to give it our targeted video ad unit ID and our video position targeting. This is where we want to play the ad. Do we want to play it in a pre-roll? Do we want to play it in a mid-roll like a commercial, or do we want to play it post-roll after our content video has finished playing? We're going for the YouTube style here. We want a pre-roll ad before our video starts playing, so we target it towards the pre-roll position. And that just rolls up into the video position targeting object. We set the targeted positions. All of this gets set on our top-level targeting object. We set our content targeting, which is the content of the video. We set our inventory targeting, which is our video ad unit. And we set our position targeting, which is our pre-roll. Last thing to call out that's different from normal line items is the environment type video player. It needs to know that the size you're passing in, this 1280 by 720, it needs to know that that's not, that's a video size. That's not a regular ad unit size. The creative placeholder, you have master and companion ads for video ad units. And what I mean by that is The master ad is the pre-roll ad that we're going to be showing, but if you had companion ads, which are normal vertical banner or horizontal banner ads that you want displayed in an ad unit next to the video, you could have that happen as well by including companion ads. So that way, if someone's watching the video and as they're watching it, they can't get their mind off that Chromebook. Oh wait, there's a link over there. Let me click on that and I can go right to the destination URL through the companion ad. So for this simple example, we're not including any, so we're going to set companion delivery optional and only include the master placeholder in our creative placeholders. And then again, we set standard line item things like end date time, our cost type, our goal. This is mostly stuff you should be familiar with if you're creating line items in DFP with the API. So as we run this, it creates our video line item with our ID, and it's 1555329 So if we go back to our order and we refresh, we have our video line item. And it's got our start immediately with all of our existing details, including targeting basketball for NCAA with a pre-roll and our developer day ad unit. The last step is to associate the line item and the creative. This is as simple as using the create like as example. You're just going to use the creative set ID from the creative that you made earlier and pass that in and the line item ID and just create that association in DFP. So now that we've created our line item and our creative in DFP, the last step is to serve that line item down into our blog where we have our video player and we want to add in the advertising capability. To do that, we're going to use the IMA SDK. If you're not familiar with it, it's another Google product specifically for serving VAST tags, which are how the video advertisements are delivered. They're similar to GPT ad tags, but specifically they include the data for a video advertisement, the pre-roll, the post-roll, the companion ads, all of that information. So to include this, it's actually extremely simple thanks to the Video.js plugin. We're only going to be writing like 10 lines of code here to get our content blog to look how it does. You can see here we're using an HTML5 video element, and the only thing that's really interesting about this, we have some classes on there for styling. We have our height and our width, and the only thing interesting here is this data-vid. And HTML5 allows you to add in attributes as valid HTML as long as you prefix them with data hyphen. So here we're adding in a VID, a video ID, and this is the ID of the content video in DFP. So on your blog, you're just going to include this so that DFP knows which video is playing and can figure out which targeting to apply when it tries to serve ads. The IMA SDK, as I mentioned, has a Video.js plugin. If you're not familiar with Video.js, it's an open source project that just is a video player for HTML5 video. And you just include their JavaScript library, and it has nice features like allowing plugins. So the plugin we're going to be using is for the IMA SDK, and that allows us to serve ads with the video countdown as a pre-roll, as a mid-roll, as a post-roll. It allows us to do that with just a few lines of code. And these are those lines. So we initialize our video player, and then we're going to grab that VID, that attribute from the HTML element, the data VID, and we're going to pass that into our options object. So you'll see that the ID that we're going to be putting our player on is the content video, and our ad tag URL, this is generated just like you would generate any other ad tag from DFP by going into the ad unit and hitting generate ad tag URL. The only unique things that we're adding are these last two lines. These were not generated. These are we're adding in right now, the CMS ID and the VID. And the CMS ID is the content source ID in DFP, and the VID is the video ID. And these two different IDs combined will give a unique identifier to the content video that we're playing at this moment. And just to point out what I'm talking about, if you go back to our content in DFP, you'll see that the content has a content ID and our source has a content source ID. So this 49724, that's what we're passing in here, this 49724. With that, the only other code we need is to initialize the IMA portion of the video.js player with those options, and then add our own click handling function. This is straight out of the IMA SDK's plugin example code, where we want to override the first click. So if it hasn't been clicked yet, we want to request ads first, then play the video, and then after that we want to let them play the video again without any ads. So let's go back and see in action NCAA. And as we click play, it'll go into our Chromebook app. If we swing back over to the NBA tab and we hit play, it won't serve an ad because we're not targeting NBA videos, we're only targeting NCAA videos. If you have any questions about something you saw in this presentation, about video ad serving in general, feel free to reach out to us on our developer forum, or if you're working on the serving side of things with the IMA SDK, they have a forum as well and you can reach out to them there. Thanks for watching.